that we learn more about ourselves from stories.
I think stories are really what join us together as humans.
I think we're all better because of stories. They bring understanding and bring different people together.
It's because they can help influence our way of thinking by teaching and inspiring us and being able to make connections with people and other people's ideas.
I think we do need stories in our lives because it can take our mind off of everything that's going on and can pass on knowledge to future generations, and it's how most history was retold for years and years.
I think that it's hard to overstate the importance of stories in our lives. I think that they provide a really essential window into the minds of other people.
Definitely. I think in a lot of ways, stories are more real than our everyday reality.
Life is a story.
Stories are what makes us who we are. They tell our history, they tell our future, they show how we've developed and become the person that we are.
I think stories are like the ligaments and tendons.
I think that sharing stories helps to build an empathetic community and helps people to recognize the shared humanity that we all have, and thus inspires inclusivity.
I think that stories are actually how we learn. So I think stories are essential to humanity.
So often when I talk with someone else about a novel, a book, even an article, a poem that we have read in common, I find that there can be this unexpected spark.
When I speak passionately about something, others are almost always just as interested to learn what I've learned.
I find that my mind is open to different ideas and different perspectives, and I usually learn something.
I think you learn. I think when you share something with someone else and listen to their response, it helps you learn more about what you've read and gain insight and actually add depth to the experience of reading, and actually really enhances that experience.
I love hearing what other people notice or what stands out to them.
Well, it's almost literally my job to talk about the different novels because I buy books for the library. I also have to kind of put my mind into the points of view of all of our patrons to try and grok what they would like to read, and also listen to our patrons, so that people can come in and just ask for a new book, and with a decent turnaround time we'll get it to them. We really so it's a listening and learning and a little bit of telepathy. So it's very fun.
It depends. Some people, if they think we have maybe something in common, then they're really excited. And some other people are like, oh, well, I read this other thing, which is okay because we can still talk about something.
Even when we were reading Kindred, talking to my coworkers about it, talking to Martha, there were ways that we read the ending that were different, and then we got to talk about why we thought our way might have been what was happening or how they could exist together.
It's a way of connecting with each other and just sharing our point of views of what we got from the story, because everyone gets different point of views and different ways of understanding the concepts of each book.
So I'm a real Budinsky. In college, I was actually the Green Dot mascot. I wore a hula hoop.
A customer came in and was just very rude to our employee, who is Hispanic, and it was in this valley. And actually, I've observed this more than once. And can't say that the first time I really did enough, but I've grown accustomed or more comfortable with saying to someone who acts that way, just, our employees deserve to be treated better. This is an employee, we value their service, you need to either treat them with respect or you can please leave.
Gosh, when I was in the third grade, there was a young boy who was the outcast in school, you know, the one who usually got some stuff running out of his nose and maybe eats the paste, and the weird kid. There were a bunch of sixth graders in a circle taunting this poor child. And as a third grader, I wanted to be cool like the sixth graders, so I joined the circle, and I've always been pretty quick with my words. And I joined the taunting, and this poor child lashed out at the best target for lashing out, which turned out to be me. I got a real nice shiner for my trouble. And we ended up in the principal's office, of course, and he got in all the trouble and I didn't get in any trouble. I was the victim. And I've carried that with me as well, that I wish I hadn't have done that. That's something, and it's a story that I've shared with my child as they grow up, so that they can see these little things, they live with you forever.
I think a lot of times people, including myself, are scared to take action because they're embarrassed, like, am I out of context? Am I not doing the right thing? You know, do I know what's really going on here?
I have. Even though I'm a person of color, I've seen other people that have been, that are slightly darker than I am and just treated like minorities. And I usually, before, I was scared to stand up for them, or just so I don't get involved. But I became comfortable just telling them, helping them out, just making themselves, the person of color, be heard, because I am also a person of color. So I don't like the way it feels when someone treats you like you're less than they are.
Well, what comes to mind is one time in high school, there was I guess she was in my class, so in that way we were the same. She was a white girl, and she had a boyfriend in the same class, and they both sat kind of behind me. And he was whispering some things to her that were, made me feel uncomfortable. It was clearly insulting. But, you know, the teacher couldn't hear, so it wasn't something she could do anything about. So I had to just turn around. I just don't leave her alone. And that's all I did. And I guess it was good, because then the next day, he actually came to meet and apologized to me for his behavior. And I went, well, okay, thanks.
I would like to put on my superhero cape and say that I've never had this experience and that I've always stepped in, but realistically that's not a thing. I'm gonna admit, haven't always stepped in.
Oh, I think that's a hard one, because I think there's times when it's really clear how to help people and what to do, and times when I think we look at situations in retrospect and say, oh, I could have done that different, or I could have spoken up, so I find it very hard. I'm not a very good person in the moment to know what to do, and I think that's why sometimes conversations help to have beforehand, so that we're not as caught off guard, and to kind of maybe put scenarios in our head if we see things that we already know how we're going to respond.
It's easy to turn a blind eye to people in need, because if it doesn't affect you personally, then why bother? However, it takes courage to stand up and help others, as it takes bravery to take action.
This was this past summer. There were some of our neighbors were having a party outside, and they were playing music. It was a family birthday celebration, and they were playing mariachi music. And somebody that I did not recognize, so who seemed to be from outside the neighborhood, drove by and yelled at them to turn down the music, and that they didn't like music. I won't say their exact words, but they didn't like music from that they associated with another country.
Yes, I mean, right now just reading the book Kindred that we have for the winter read, I thought it was a very strong book, and it's just because it's, think about all the brutality that happened, and it's actually things that, probably did happen. And it stayed with me for a couple of days, where I was a little bit like, oh, that was hard.
My earliest friendships, growing up in Twin Falls, Idaho in 2nd grade, I became friends with 2 young women, Sisupan and Kenchan, who had moved to Twin Falls as refugees from Laos. And everything from how they wrote numerals to the life experiences they shared, the food that they talked about, it was all new to me. And so, not only were they just fun friends to play with at recess, but it was so important to me, I see in retrospect, to understand more of the world through them. And frankly, it probably wasn't until after college that I fully appreciated what life experience they were carrying with them at that young age in 2nd grade, having basically escaped from a war-torn country.
I would say yes. I've been inspired by the life stories of others that are different from me. I've learned from them. I've learned empathy, and I've learned how to really expand my thinking and how that changes my own life story.
Yes, actually, I don't know the name of the individual, but I remember going to the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. when I was in middle school, and they have you, when you go in, they give you a person. Like, they give you someone to go on the journey with, the journey of the museum that is like the story of the Holocaust. And they gave me someone who was about my age, a young girl, a Jewish girl in Germany. And I think that was when I really realized, I mean, it was in 4th grade, so you don't totally realize it, but just realized that the things I had heard about in history happened to real people.
I think sometimes it feels really daunting to make the world a better place on a really massive scale. So I think what's important to do is just to look at our sphere of influence and see what we can do with just the things we do in our everyday. I think even one thing that I've learned working in the children's library is that so many times children are really seen by their parents and their teachers, but a lot of other adults don't acknowledge them and engage with them. And so that it's really important to engage and make them feel special, and I think feel like an individual and feel like they have a place.
I am always a fan of action. I think if we want to live in a certain type of world, we can work towards that, and I try to do that every day.
I think we absolutely can make the world a better place, and it's a tricky question because I think it actually puts this weird emphasis on not us, the world, it's external, and I think how can we make humans live better in this place? And so to me, I think our relationship with the natural world has been foundational for all living things. And I think the work we need to do is reinvesting and invigorating that relationship, one that is really innate and instinctual when you're little. Like, I would argue that all kids are biologists. They love the natural world, they explore it. And the entire reason I started the Sage School was to directly answer that question. This is how you make the world a better place.
I can make the world a better place by voicing my opinions and by working to support our environment, and the way I do that is everyday actions in my life.
Being an old white guy, I have a certain amount of privilege in this world, and so I speak when I get the opportunity. And then I choose not to speak when I have the opportunity, because sometimes we old white guys, we talk too much, and maybe we should shut up and let different voices be heard.
Like, everyone has a specific gift, and like that we're given to make the world a better place.
Because I think you have to follow your passion to make the world a better place. You can't force something. So if you are doing